Hi everybody, it's Kelly from Loch Briar Knits. Welcome to Loch Briar Knits. This is going to be a different kind of a segment. I'm going to piece it together as I work on something and talk about a project as I'm going along. The first project we have, I'm so far ahead on it, is the Harbour Cowl by darling Jadore. This is one of the items that is in my Make 9 queue, favorite thing on Ravelry. Anyway, I had put up a batch of patterns that I had purchased prior to the end of 2024, and I am only allowed to use yarn in my stash and not buy any new yarn for the year. So we do have some sun coming in here, so I'm hoping it doesn't blow things out too much. So I have cast on the required amount of stitches. I'm using a size 5mm needle, which I believe is the recommended one. So I thought what I would do is just, as I'm working on it, going along, just kind of talk to you about how I'm finding the process, how I'm finding the pattern, and kind of go from there, just like a little video diary of it. And then piece it all together at the end and just have like a little montage of basically this knitting up. I am using the yarn I had set aside for a shawl. This is from West Wool and it is called Tandem. It's 100% South American merino wool. I have cast on the required number of stitches. So what you do is you're doing 2x2 ribbing, but you're doing it kind of knitting through the back, knit through the back, purl through the back. I'm on the first row of that, and I will say it was a little fiddly, but I feel like I'm kind of getting my rhythm with it. And at first when I read it, I wasn't understanding it, and I was just like, oh, I don't need this kind of mental torture right now. I'm not going to do it. And so I set it aside and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take another look at it and see. And I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I don't know what I had such a brain fart about. Like, it's not confusing at all. I don't know what my issue was. I must have just been having a low brain energy day. I don't know. I'm going to keep working on this and I will kind of check in as we go along. Good morning, everybody. This is episode 2 of the Project Diaries for the Harbour Cowl. I am making progress. So I'm going to show you this first, and then I'm going to tell you about my tale of woe. But look at it. Oh, isn't that pretty? So you do it flat for a bit because what you do is you're gonna, I'm not sure how that's gonna work exactly. Maybe it only splits on one side, but you'll eventually, once I get to, I think about maybe like this much further, it will go over your neck and then you join in the round, but it leaves a little split here so that it sits a little more comfortably on your neck without getting bunched up. But the split's obviously only going to be on one side, which for some reason in my head I was thinking it was going to be on two sides, like kind of split on either side, but there's no way for that to actually happen. So I am knitting this again out of West Wool in their Tandem. It's a gray colorway. It to me has a little bit of a blue undertone to it. And what is that? What's that color? Colonial gray? Is that what it's called? That's not the name of this colorway, but that's the color it reminds me of. But it's actually a beautiful yarn to work with, so I am enjoying that. Here's what I'm not enjoying. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the pattern because the pattern is very straightforward. There are, you've got kind of like a row, each of the rows is different. And each of the rows will have like a sequence of stitches, obviously, that you repeat to get these beautiful designs. I have discovered that if I can't have anything else going on. I can't be watching a podcast. I can't be listening to music. I have to sit there and literally repeat the pattern. So like, you know, like knit 5, purl 2, knit 3, purl 1, repeat. I have to repeat that in my head as I go along, because if I don't, and if I'm not consciously doing that, I will start doing a repeat that's not what the pattern tells me to do at all. So I've had to tink back, I'm going to say about 5 times now, I've had to tink back a row, and I usually make the mistake, of course, near the beginning. So I've had to tink back the entire row and then start all over again. And yeah, I've done that about 5 times. So this is not a project that I can be doing when I'm doing anything else. I literally have to concentrate on this pattern and say the pattern to myself as I go along. And I'm saying it out loud. I'm not even saying it in my head, because if I say it in my head, the other part of my brain will just go wandering off somewhere else. And the next thing I know, I'm repeating like knit 2, purl 5, knit 2, purl 5, knit 2, purl 5, when I should be doing knit purl, or knit 5, purl 2, knit 1, purl 3, then repeat. So there's that. I'm enjoying really seeing like the pattern coming out, and I think I'm getting close to where I will join. I'm 6 rows away before I have to knit the body of the cowl. Again, looking at the pattern, you're kind of continuing with the design, so I'm not going to be able to do that and do anything else. So it will be quiet knitting time, and the only thing you will hear is me going, knit 5, purl 2, knit 2, purl 5. I am making progress. There was, after the 3rd time I had to tink back, I thought, I can't do this again. But then I was like, no, can't just give up because it's hard. And it's not even hard. It's just, I had to come to the realization I can't watch a podcast or carry on a conversation or let my mind wander off when I'm doing the pattern. I have to focus completely on the pattern. It's later the same day, and I have screwed something up royally. I got to the part where I am supposed to join, and I thought I followed the directions correctly, and then I realized there's something wrong. First off, I had an extra stitch, which I didn't have to start with, and I have no idea how that happened, unless it was because of the invisible stitch, but I did that the way I was supposed to, so I don't know what the issue was. So now I'm trying to tink back, but I've got this thing still attaching the 2 pieces. Part of me feels like I was going in the wrong direction, but I have no idea. I have no idea what I did wrong, and I'm getting so sick of tinking this back. But I am determined to keep going and figure out what the heck I did wrong and try to fix it. Yeah, so I wouldn't say that it's a relaxing knit, but I do like how it's turning out. It's lovely. This is just the first skein, so I may only need 1 skein. It's a very nice yarn. It's very easy to knit with, very comfortable in the hands. So onward. Good morning. I have a few minutes before I have to start work, so I thought I would give you an update. It's been slow going. I hit a point where I was doing really well, and I got a whole kind of section done fairly quickly, no mistakes. And then the row that I just finished, I had to tink back twice. The row before that, I had to tink back once. And I just keep making mistakes, because if I let my mind wander for even like 5 seconds, I will screw up the pattern. In order to do the pattern, I've constantly had to be saying the pattern as I'm doing it. So I can't be watching any videos. I can't kind of relax. It's just almost like this constant vigilance, and I'm not enjoying it. The pattern is beautiful. Look at this. I'm halfway through. There's like, I think it's like 7 rows, and you have to repeat them, do it like 11 more times before I get to the thing. So right now I may be partway through like the fourth time doing this. I'm not gonna make it another 7. I'm not. But the other thing too is I don't think I'm gonna need to. This is how much I have for my neck right now. Now I don't have a long neck, so I think what I'm going to do is I am going to finish the section I'm on, which I have, sorry, there's 11 rows and I have to do it. See, I keep reading this pattern wrong. There's 11 rows to the section and I am on the 3rd section and I have 4 more to go. And again, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make it. So I think I'm going to finish the 3rd row and I'm only 3 rows in. And then I'm going to do the ribbing. I don't think I really need it to be a whole lot longer. I think this just finishing off where I'm at, and then I'll do the ribbing. So that'll bring it up to here. So that's going to be more than enough. We have finished the Harbour cowl by darling Jadore. Here is the finished object. You may notice it is shorter than it should be. And the reason for that is I had had enough. I had had enough. I made more mistakes on this cowl than I have made knitting probably the last 10 projects I've knit altogether. It was a disaster. I was constantly having to think back. And when I made a mistake, it was never like near where I was at. It was always when I got to the end of the row and realized I had not enough or too many stitches left for what should be there for the pattern. And then I had to go and figure out where in the round I made the mistake, flag it, and then tink back. And it inevitably was near the beginning, because of course it would be. By the time I got to about here, I thought, I'm done. I think it's long enough. And I'm done. I am done. And you know, it's nothing to do with the pattern. The pattern, other than where you were to join in the round. I did find the joining in the round the way I was reading the directions, and I looked at them and I looked at them and looked. Every time I looked at them, I thought, no, she's telling me to go in this direction, but that would have me knitting it inside out. And I just feel like based on the pattern, it should go in the other direction. So there was something about the pattern and the way I was interpreting it that was not jiving with what you had to do. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go in the other direction that I think I'm supposed to be going in and follow the pattern that way. And that's what I did, and it worked out fine. There were times where I thought I'm just going to leave any of the mistakes I made, I'm just going to leave them in. But I thought, no, because the pattern is really pretty. I mean, look at that. It's lovely. I'm trying to remember how many rows of the pattern you had to do. I think there were 10 rows or 11 rows of the pattern, and you had to repeat that 7 times. I did 4, which would have been from here to here. So this section here probably would have been doubled. So this would be like probably about this much higher. Here's the other thing too, is that if it was longer, it would have been better, but it doesn't really cover the neck. And when I looked at the other projects, theirs seemed more narrow, almost as if they had done it. And some of them I think did do it at a fingering weight. And I used what the pattern called for, which I believe is K. It's wider maybe than I think it needs to be for me. If I had it this width, I think it would be better for me because it would be closer to the neck. If I had done longer, there'd be more here to kind of bunch up around the neck. But by the time I got to here, I was so frustrated with the amount of mistakes I was making. I was not enjoying this. I did not enjoy this knit. And that, again, nothing to do with the pattern, and apparently everything to do with my inability to count stitches correctly. And the problem was, I'm dyslexic. When I have to count stitches for a pattern, I can have nothing else going on around me, and I have to count them out loud. I can't count them just in my head. So I have to be going like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And I have to be doing that out loud because if I don't, my mind's going to wander. And when my mind wanders, then the stitch count just goes sideways because I don't know what's coming out of my mouth and my hands are doing something different. Yeah. And I think the other thing, the problem that I had, and again, not the pattern, this is all me, is that every row was a different pattern. There was no just straight knitting. There was no breaks. Every row you were doing a different like stitch count to make the design in that. So I think with that too, I didn't have like the brain break to just, okay, here's an easy row. I can I can let my mind wander. So I didn't find it a relaxing knit because it was like I had to be vigilant. And even then, I was still making mistakes. So if you are somebody who can like look at a pattern and be able to like pull that off, hats off to you. You will love this pattern. Would I knit it again? No. Do I think it's an easy knit? For me, no. This was difficult. This was hard, but it was only hard in the sense that I had to pay such strict attention that I couldn't allow my mind to wander. And for me, knitting is my relaxing. I want to be able to watch a podcast, like a knitting blog line, or watch like something on TV or whatever. Like I want to be able to relax and be able to knit what I'm knitting, but also pay attention to something else if I want to without worrying that I'm going to muck things up. And I muck things up. I muck things up so many times on this. Again, it is a beautiful knit. The instructions are easy. It's not a difficult knit. It was just difficult for me not to let my mind wander. And the moment I did, I made a mistake. So anyway, the Harbour Cowl, Darling Jadore. I do recommend the pattern if you are somebody who can do that and not worry about messing up. Or if you're somebody who likes to just knit with nothing else going on but the knit, then yeah. But it is a beautiful design. And I love the yarn. The yarn is beautiful. And I have a lot left over. This took maybe, well, and I mean, granted, I cut it short. But even if I didn't cut it short, this did not take even one skein of DK weight yarn. So that is the story of the Harbour Cowl. So one item knitted from my Make 9 bundle. And now we are on to the next, which is the Trotso sweater by Petite Knits. See you then.